Hello, this is Phillip Young, and this is my presentation on Assignment 9. By my last name, I had the project of doing the college network, a new network design. So the network design I developed was for White Oak Community College. It's a small community college, basically based on the technical sciences, mathematics, and that type of thing. So it's really geared toward the technology field. And I'm going to show how I developed a wireless network for this particular college. So the problem is that we need to deploy wireless access points across the college. We have to account for man-made and natural obstructions. We also need to ensure that the signal is strong and free from dead spots. So we need to think about several different things. If there are trees, the materials in the building, how is this going to affect the wireless network? Is it going to cause dead spots or problem areas in the area? Because the ultimate goal is to ensure that we are able to have strong signal throughout the campus. So there should not be one part of the building or one part of the campus where there's a known dead spot which people avoid. So we want to make sure that the signal is strong and proficient throughout the entire college. And this is the proposal. It is a diagram that I did of the college. As you see, we have a park / commons area in the center. Towards the southeast, we have a lake also, and we have to think about everything. We have 4 main buildings, and we have to honestly think about everything when we're deploying a wireless network. For example, the trees, the building materials for each of the campus buildings, and of course the lake. We need to think about how this particular campus, in the way that it is composed, will ultimately affect our wireless signal. So, based on my review of the diagram, I believe we will need a total of 37 access points. And this will be accounting for lakes, trees, additional floors in each of the buildings and walls. And the number of access points will ensure a strong signal, because in each of the buildings we have about 5 per floor. We have one in the center of the building, and then 4 in each other area of the building. And we're going to just replicate that for each additional floor to ensure that there is adequate signal strength. Now, in the smaller buildings, we may get away with 4 in each building, but ultimately we want to have as many access points to ensure strong signal and that everyone's able to connect properly on the network. And we also are going to place some outdoor routers, because obviously you have a router or access point inside of a building. If you have something like a lake or a park or something like that, you need to have outdoor routers to ensure that the wireless signal will be able to traverse outside the buildings, because, for example, a lake, there could be many dead spots with a lake depending on the size. So, like I said, we basically placed APs on each side of the lake to ensure good signal, because if you have an access point on one side, their chances are the signal may diminish on the other side. So we place 2 access points on each side to account for the lake and ensure that there's good signal throughout. We also placed it in the center of the campus, outside in the park area, to ensure there's thorough signal outside. And like I previously discussed, there were APs that were placed throughout the building strategically. For example, we have one, like I said, in the center of the building, and then we have 4 on the other areas of the building to ensure that there's proper signal throughout the building. So we don't want any dead spots, because that can be certainly a problem for our network. And, the reasoning behind my placement of the access points, we want to avoid hallways. So we don't want an access point in a hallway, because the signal would have a harder time traversing through the walls to the classroom. So the ultimate plan is to place them in below the ceilings in the classroom and other areas. We're not necessarily placing them inside the ceilings, because then you can have problems as far as electrical wiring, obstructions, the building materials, that type of thing. So we're placing them basically below the ceilings, but still above the classroom. And we're also taking account of the natural landscape, like I said, the trees, the lake, and the park. So we take all these aspects into consideration when we're placing our access points. This is a sample diagram I did of the science technology building. It's one of the longer buildings, just to show how the placement of 5 routers per floor would ultimately ensure proper signal. You see that we place 5 here. We have a computer lab, lecture areas. We also have a server room in the upper right hand corner there. But ultimately, this is the idea behind placing the access points behind the buildings. So like I said, the access points are placed in the classrooms in the center commons area. Signal strength and quality is important due to the housing of the campus server. So if we have a dead spot in the server area, that's bad news. We definitely want to ensure that there's proper signal in the server area if our servers, by chance, are using this wireless network to communicate. So we definitely want to ensure that signal is completely proper there. These are some not routers, but access points that I have found for the outdoor area. Cisco AirNet 1310 outdoor access point. That's about $416. That's for one access point. It will be able to work outdoors, so that's what I considered as far as for the access points outdoors. So we'll need to get 3, and the total for those 3 will be $1,250.97. So that will be the cost for the outdoor routers. The indoor routers, I found some Cisco Marikai MR18 routers, supported 600 megabytes per second, $399 a piece. These routers, I feel, will be sufficient for a campus setting because they can support many clients, and they also have good speed. So that is why I chose these particular access points. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than the outdoor routers, but ultimately we'll need to get 34 of them. The price I found, the one for $399, that was off eBay. Obviously, we can't purchase 34 of these routers off eBay, but we would go through a computer vendor. The ultimate price I found was $441.32. The total for these indoor access points will be $15,000, $4.88. Again, this is to ensure proper signal strength while being able to support the population density. So that's important. You want to have proper signal strength and ensure that data transfers, accessing is able to go through, but you also want to ensure that your population density is able to be supported on these access points, because you don't want to have some students or faculty that are unable to connect or having connection problems because simply the access points or network is overloaded. Again, this is the total estimate for the indoor access points once we consider everything, and this is considering also the outdoor routers as well as the indoor routers. So the total price, and I'm sorry, they're not routers, but access points. The total price is $16,255.85. So there's some other recommendations I've done for this campus network. We will decide to use a radius server. You can use that with Microsoft Server, or you can use Free Radius. Free Radius is great. It is free. You can use an old computer or something like that to configure the radius. And basically what radius is that your wireless clients, they're authenticated by the radius server, so this can eliminate any problem areas as far as security concerns. So that is something I would recommend for the campus wireless network. And of course, a firewall is a necessity for campus setting. Barracuda Firewall X100. I do recommend that for additional security concerns. Total for all equipment is $17,374.95. This includes all equipment, access points, routers, the radius server. Like I said, if you use free radius, it can be free. Chances are this campus already has Microsoft Server in some form or another already in place, so they can configure the radius settings for the authentication of the wireless network. Deployment time. This is kind of tricky. In my research, I did not really find any set in stone deployment time for wireless network. I mean, obviously it depends on the complexity. For a campus setting, it's a little bit more complex than deciding to set up a wireless network in your home. So I gave it about 6 to 12 months, and with the consideration of the partial pilot to ensure the equipment works properly. What I mean by that is we want to make sure the radius server, firewalls, that type of thing are working properly. Clients are authenticated without any problems, because you don't want to run into an issue should this campus decide to go full wireless versus any type of hybrid wired wireless configuration. You don't want to just roll this out and there'll be problems as far as connecting client overload or anything like that, because that can be a tremendous problem for the campus. And the security, what we're going to do with that, I'm going to use 802.1x authentication. It's a separate session for each access point. It's a good security measure. As discussed with the radius server, users are authenticated. You can set different channels with your wireless, so you can have faculty setting up, for your free Wi-Fi. You can have different channels, but still protect your information resources. For the security protocol, WEPA2 AES, it's the strongest wireless security protocol I found. We definitely don't want to use WEP in a situation like this, or any of the weaker protocols. So WEPA2 also uses AES encryption, which is pretty strong. So these are the security measures I do plan to implement with the network. And just moving forward, site surveys, they're used to determine wireless network deployment. You troubleshoot dead spots, improve signal strength. It would be a great benefit of your network. Basically, what this is kind of like using heat mapping software, and you just basically take a shot of your radio signal for your wireless network to see what is the strongest points, what are the weaker points, and with that you can kind of tailor it to your needs. So if you have a dead spot, you can configure your equipment so that you can eliminate those dead spots and, of course, improve signal strength throughout your network. And this can be done by contractors or employees. There's heat mapping software, as previously discussed. EQHall, that's a good vendor to use. You can use it free. And it is certainly helpful in wireless network deployment. And with that, with the site surveys, a person in their own home can actually do this with the heat mapping software. So you can actually do your own. You can also do your own site survey without the need to hire anyone, as long as you know how to work the software, you know how to interact with it, and you know how to use it. So that's a consideration. And another aspect, just moving forward, as far as how this would differ from setting up a one access point for many, is that with one access point, you really don't have a lot to think about. If you're just setting up one access point for your home, you're basically just setting up, your access point and moving on. You're not taking everything into consideration. You may think about security, in the way it is now. Most people don't think about security. You can just see the unprotected access point, and that people just don't really take that into consideration. But when you're deploying multiple access points, you think about everything. You basically want to think about the security protocols, how you're going to protect your network and information resources, You have to think about placements as far as how you're going to place it in the buildings, because if you're deploying multiple access points, chances are that you're not just deploying it in your home, you're deploying it in your place of business, a campus setting, or something of that nature. So you want to consider everything as far as how the natural landscape or the furniture, for example, will interact with the wireless signals. So there's a lot more things that you need to consider when you're deploying that in your network. Well, that is the conclusion of my presentation. You can see the references listed here. Thank you for your time.